Hello, welcome. Victoria and Gillian here from Money, Love, Immersion. We're here for one of our Thursday conversations, and today we're going to be looking more at money blocks. This is, as with all the money subjects, such a fascinating topic, isn't it, Gillian? It really is one of the things that very often we don't know what a money block is, do we? I think this is probably the point where we want to start today. But I know for a long, long time, as somebody setting up my business, I would be doing lots of different things and not actually recognizing that probably behind it all was a money block. But we'll start by talking a little bit more about what money blocks are. And I'm going to hand over to you, Gillian.
Thank you. Yes, I think the main sort of one of the points that we're hoping to get to during this conversation is that exactly where you started. We don't even know what a money block is, and the reason is that we don't. You can't see what you can't see. So if you're looking at your business with blurred vision, then you'll only see the things you're looking at. So I mean, in our business, you can feel stuck. You can feel like you've hit a brick wall. You can feel like you're going around in circles. You're working hard. Maybe you're investing in lots of good coaches and good tools. And I know you've always said, the website and all the branding and all of those things that you're supposed to do. But you feel like you're going in circles. And so if you're overspending on your time and your energy and all your work, and you sort of getting clients, but not as many as you want, and you're just not seeing the money that you want, it could actually be a money block. And by money block, we don't mean money. We mean something in your mind, a limiting belief, a story that you have around money that holds you back. And I think it's really about entrepreneurs, especially. So this is where it comes up in the entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs need to think about money differently because they're managers and they're leaders, and they're often people who've run away. And I say that with joy because run away is not, in this case, not a bad thing. It's like run towards this freedom, this independence, this having your own business, this doing your own thing, serving people, all those good things about being an entrepreneur and running your own business. But often the people have come from a corporate environment or let's say, very rule-oriented environment where they didn't have to think about money, only had their personal budget, which may or may not have been in great condition, but they didn't really worry about it. And then an entrepreneurial money mindset is very different, and it's not accounting. And I think that's where people just don't think about it because you just think it'll figure itself out. But
yeah. It as you were talking, because I'm sort of thinking to myself actually about the role money blocks play in actually quashing some of the creativity as entrepreneurs that we bring to the world, because entrepreneurs essentially are here to solve problems. They find solutions. This is what they do. And I think as you were talking and as I've talked about in the past, that we think we have to have a website, we have to have marketing, we have to have an Instagram account and all of those things. And while we're so busy in that have to, we're actually not being creative. We're not necessarily bringing those solutions, or we're tailoring what our offer is to fit in with what is out there. And it's kind of, we get lost, and actually it is almost a money block because we get kind of distracted, don't we? Like you say, we're kind of running away really positively. We've got all these solutions, but then all of a sudden we're like, oh, but if I don't take that little project over there that doesn't really align with my values, how will I be able to fund my website or whatever it is? So it's so tangled up and looped together, isn't it? Just kind of how we can lose creativity as well and our passion for what we're doing.
And I mean, you and I love practical because we hate just talking up there with the ideas, although we love ideas. But I mean, it's about real and practical. So a practical example is, as you were saying, you go out with this great idea to provide a solution. And then you know that this solution, and that solution can be entertaining someone or transforming their lives, or it can be anything from childcare to building to coaching, I don't know, giving massages, whatever your business is. and then you have to charge the money for it. And that's the first money block people bump into is, well, I can't charge that much. And, well, I can't ask them to pay me, and they haven't paid me yet. When are they going to? And I mean, I've got a person who helps with my dog walking, and she's always comes to me saying, I'm sorry, but you owe me this. And I'll say, please, I'm forgetful. And you never send me invoices. Please just WhatsApp me and say, Gillian, you haven't paid yet. Because I do a lot of things. So and that's like a really small little business where that's a money block. That's a money block around asking for money. And it's an agreement. I owe the money. I agreed to the money. I literally just forgot. But she didn't want to come and say, you owe me. And this is a type of money block. So it's those things that then just destroy your day and can destroy your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Because as you say, you can have all of these different systems in place and the marketing and all of the different elements at play. But if you're not going to feel comfortable asking pay, it's kind of what you've gone to the trouble of implementing all the systems to help drive people to you, but actually at that point that you want to have that transaction, it feels quite heavy and difficult. It's really not the way to run a business, is it?
Then is it? If you're not getting the money in. And I think when we talk about a money block, we're very generally talking about anything that prevents or slows down, creates some sort of friction with the flow of money. So money in and money out, and the money prices, and the being able to make, let's say, big money decisions, because there's little money decisions. Should I buy this software or that software? Should I have these tiles or those tiles? Those are sort of simple, small ones. And then there can be bigger ones. So maybe the software one becomes a bigger one because who's going to support it? Is it something I can do myself? Do I need to have someone to support it? Do I need software at all? Can I just use like you mentioned, Instagram, things that are out there? So I think a money block really refers to anything around money that is creating friction. It should be flowing. It should be as simple, dealing with money, should be as simple as what you're good at in your industry. And I think you and I have seen it a lot with the entrepreneurs. They can be really good. I mean, they usually are. They're creative. They want to go against the grain a bit. They've seen this gap where they say they know, whether it's being an attorney, a hairdresser, as we've said, coaches and so on. You've seen this market, you've seen this need, you want to service it. People spend a lot on increasing their skills, really honing in on it. So they become kind of very like heavy weight on the one side, really 5-star. But they just don't work on the money stories. And then the money blocks becomes this friction because it's not easy. When it's not easy, you neglect it.
Yes. So I love what you said there. Dealing with money should be simple. And if we start there, it should be simple. Is it therefore easy for someone listening to this to think, oh, well, it's not simple for me? And then to think, so maybe I've got a money block. Because as you were talking, I was thinking it's about how it shows up for people. Because somebody might have the awareness to think this is definitely about money. I don't like asking people for money, or I don't like putting my prices up. Those are money blocks that they're probably aware of. But money can actually show up in other ways, much more subtle ways, can't it? Which is obviously, you were talking about the decisions there. But I'm just thinking, if money isn't simple for somebody, they may not even have thought of money. They might just be thinking, actually, it's marketing that's not simple for me, or nobody understands my message, or I'm not getting in front of the right audience. Actually, if they've been trying lots of different things, it probably is underneath it actually a money block, isn't it?
Exactly, because if you're in a place where there's friction, let's talk about the business. So you've got your a business and there's friction. There's some block. There's something sticking. That running in circles feeling, and you're working. So yes, my marketing's not working. My messaging's not working. I'm not getting the right kind of clients. I keep getting these sort of, I don't get the serious clients. I just get the dabblers. Or pricing, pricing is the obvious one. So pricing is not the more subtle one. Other one is time. I don't have enough time. I've got to spend more time. And so if you're a person who's done a lot of research into productivity apps and you've tried a million things, well, maybe that's not your problem. Maybe you need to adapt your business around you and look at, well, what is actually at the root of this? And the one example we came up earlier, which I see it so often, is this complete disconnect between different financial decisions. So you'll see someone hiring a $10,000 coach to show them how to market, but they'll be, I don't know, mowing their own lawns on the weekend. And I mean, if you enjoy that, that's fine. But if you're doing things like that, spending hours worrying about the shopping and the cooking, and then you think, well, actually, if I could save if I bought pre-made meals, or if I did online shopping, or if I got a garden service. I don't know. These are some very simple little examples, but I'm trying to demonstrate that we can try and save pennies, and then we blow the budget on something, but we actually don't have a strategy. Like, how am I going to manage the growth of this business? How am I going to think like a CEO? How am I going to look at money, how it flows, my business decisions? And that's, I mean, as I'm speaking now, probably people say, well, that's just all way too overwhelming. And yes, that if you're feeling overwhelmed, there's a money block, because you can learn anything. If you could master your craft, you can master this. It's about being able to ask for the help you need, getting the right people to help you, etc. But it starts with even being aware. So yeah, I've waffled a bit in circles.
No, you haven't at all, because it's so interesting, and for me it's such a foundational and fundamental piece of this transition into business ownership, entrepreneurship, solopreneurship, whatever you want to call it, freelancer. It is such an important part of the process, and yet it doesn't get the attention it deserves, because we just believe we need to do so many other things, don't we? We need to do other things, but actually, really, as a starting point, actually looking internally and saying, okay, I have this beautiful vision for the world. I know I can change lives. This is the point I want to grow my business to. I need to first start by saying what's going on for me internally around money, because if I don't do that first, it's just going to go nowhere. And unfortunately, what sprung to my mind as we were talking before is the numbers of businesses that are shutting down, in their very first 12, 18 months, businesses that people have been so passionate, like you say, they've been really brave, really courageous. They've taken the step, they've run away from corporate, they're really going to go for it. They've got this wonderful idea, but it just doesn't take off. And yet they sit there thinking, why? Because I saved before I left, and I made sure I worked with a great marketing coach, and I made sure I could get a website, and I could do X, Y, and Z. And I'm a really confident presenter, so I've been able to go and network and do videos and all the rest of it. But actually, if they don't look at these money blocks and what's going on for them, then, and I think a lot of people, so many of us are taught that money comes from hard work. Yeah. So actually coming from a corporate environment, suddenly it's like, I don't know, we kind of feel like it has to be hard. I'm going off at little tangents there. But I think you get the gist of what I'm saying. And I've obviously made you think of something, which is the beauty of it. So I'm hand over to you.
I think when you were talking about, we've all been taught money comes from hard work. And then I think that there's a big swing in the other direction as well, which is just as toxic. So money doesn't only come from hard work. Do you have to work? Yes. And I mean, that's the biggest, 99% of passive income that people talk about is not passive. They've done some work up front, or they have to like babysit their product. Only like truly passive is when you really, I don't know, own a company that gives you dividends, or there's really, but most, and especially entrepreneurs, most of us actually quite like working. I mean, that's what I do. I like being busy. I like being productive. I like that reward of seeing the fruits of my labor. So the hard work part is less of a problem as am I getting enough money for my work? And I think that then people start obsessing about. So if we take your example of this entrepreneur that's now started, they're really good at whatever they do, and I just thought in my head of like t-shirt printing, starts a little business, print t-shirts, realize, I need to go faster, I need better quality shirts, I need, people want customized, I get some software, I get some different inks, I realize I've got this distribution problem, I figure out distribution. So the whole time it's that work harder, but there's no money in the bank. So then we have the pendulum swing, because you and I have been in many of those groups. No, money only comes from the universe. I was like, well, how does that work? So now I'm going to ignore this thing, because when I start looking at my business plans and I've got all this distribution networks and printers and things that are very confusing and overwhelming, and I think, well, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to worry about it because money must just come from the universe. And we then block it out. Basically, we're just blocking out the problem from two different angles. We either work harder or we block it from universe. And in the middle is this foundation piece that we just don't get to, which is the money blocks. It's actually, what is it that's worrying you? Because if you look at really practically and really clearly in that scenario, this person who started off just printing t-shirts for maybe a market on Sundays and now realizes they've got this whole business and they can distribute and they can personalize it and they can do all sorts of things. They've now grown and they've changed and they're an entrepreneur, and they need to look at their marketing, look at their clients, look at their product, and look at themselves and their money stories, because they need to maybe speak to people. It's, to me, a money block prevents you from making great decisions for your business. And it's not just money decisions, it's all the decisions. So I think that's really where I wanted to get to, is this pendulum in either direction is just to this is the point.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? And I think yeah, as you were talking there, it's just so I just think the journey we go on, and we're so encouraged, aren't we, to kind of just to look at our money blocks. And I do see a lot in the space out there around sort of, identifying money stories and money blocks. But I think where I wanted to take us to next was, someone can say, okay, I'm going to spend a bit of time looking at this, but what are they looking for, I suppose, and what can they do about it? That's what's so important, because I've done over the years, and I'm sure lots of people perhaps watching they've tried lots of different money mindset approaches, and they've heard about money stories and they've heard about money blocks before. They've perhaps not noticed that they've shown up as the fact that they're working longer hours, or that they're constantly on social media, because that's the other thing. A lot of people will say that's comparing, but it's not. Potentially it's a money block, because you're out there consistently looking. So it's kind of going deeper. So I suppose, yeah, my questions were, sorry, I went off at a bit of a tangent again. My questions were, what can we do about a money block? Because we can know we've got them. Loads of people have been talking about money stories and money blocks, so that we know we've got them, but what can we do about them?
So I think once you've recognized that there's a money story at play, then the digging deep starts with, let's really get into, how do you feel about money? And this may seem like, well, if I've got the story and a block doesn't sound like a feeling, but it is. And if you think of I don't know, let's say you're terrified of the dentist. and you've got to go to the dentist, and you'll put off making the appointment. You'll probably subconsciously forget to make that appointment until that tooth starts really paining. Then eventually you'll make the appointment, and then you'll maybe have sleepless nights worrying about it. So your feeling about this dentist appointment is influencing your days and your weeks. And this is the same as what happens with your feeling about money, except that we don't make the connection as clearly. Sawtooth is very easy to connect physical pain with the fear of the dentist pain, which may or may not have been rooted in a reality as a child, or you may have just inherited it from someone. And with the money block, once you recognize it, is to actually dig deep into, well, how do I feel about money and where does it come from? And that usually takes a second set of eyes and some real unearthing of the problem. Because if you already knew the answer, then you would have solved it, because entrepreneurs are problem solvers. So chances are you recognize there's a money block. You've tried the ignoring it and waiting for or positive affirmations and like, I'm going to be rich, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich, I am charging this much, I am organized, I am whatever, all those things that your brain goes
yeah, no you're not. I've got other ideas. Yep.
So I think and that's where sort of digging deeper and understanding it and recognizing that it actually takes a bit of time to disentangle yourself from the story. And this is where it comes to, this is our big word, relationship. I think this is where we tie it together with the money relationship, is that money is not something that happens to you. Money is not a thing that happens on the side by accident, like an earthquake that takes you by surprise. It shouldn't be. Not if you're an entrepreneur. You're physically involved with it as part of the running. You need it as much as you need clients or your product. So it's recognizing that there's a relationship and you're an equal partner in it. Now, that's a very far way to end up from the starting point of just feeling blocked. But that's really the journey to go on, is to really start becoming a partner in your relationship with money.
Yeah.
A leader in it.
Yeah, absolutely. That relationship is so key. And actually, I've loved this discussion today because it just highlights just how important it is looking at this, you know, on this entrepreneurial journey. It's a starting point, really, isn't it? Because like you say, it's how we can use our energy well, and where we can be placing our attention and what we're working on. And yeah, I just think it's been wonderful to understand that. And actually, as we've talked, you know, and you know, the light bulb's been going off, and I've made so many other notes as well, because yeah, we just don't make that connection, do we? That actually what we have as a money block, we kind of just assume, oh, it's because of X, Y, and Z. It's not the climate. It's not, it's, you know, everyone's struggling with marketing at the moment. The algorithms have changed. But actually, yeah, there can be so much more rumbling on beneath the surface. So I found it really interesting.
And I really want to underline that. I mean, I love studying. I'm an absolute complete student nerd, whatever you want to call it. But I started my life with industrial engineering, which is also known as production planning and production management. And then did an MBA, which is Masters in Business. And it's all about running a business. I mean, as an engineer, you're taught how to run a plant, and you've got products, and you've got people, and you've got your messaging and marketing. I mean, and you've got production, and you've got to learn how to get the people to work, and you learn how people relationships, you learn time planning, you learn all those things. And then you learn a little bit about money. So even at the masters, it's about financial accounting and reports and cash flow, and all of this is important, but it's still just money, as you know, no different. Money is just a thing, like the t-shirts, like the paint. And unfortunately, in big business, like the people, they're all just things that you kind of put together like a puzzle to try and make a faster flow of money and products. And that's what you do. And nowhere in any of that do people actually go into well, how are your feelings about money going to influence your decision making? And I mean, when I think of it, running a big company or playing a role in that big organization, which is where lots of us came from, is far easier because you might be quite emotionally attached to your little projects or your little corner, but you're still going to get paid at the end of the month. You're still going to go home and sleep if the project's 6 months late or if this happened. I mean, your boss will be cross. There's lots of stress. They try and shout at you and make sure that you feel the stress of the big environment. But you don't. It's still not touching you completely. And I think this is where when entrepreneurs go and start their own thing, it's just nowhere is it taught that this is a foundation piece. It's never, you never think, well, how much capital am I going to need for, you work out, oh, I'm going to need so much for my printer, my paper, my blah, 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 my website. I'm going to need to carry my living expenses for, I don't know, 3 months. But no one tells you, well, what about the 3 mistakes you're going to make? And what about the big collapso? And what about when you get it wrong and you have to redo your product? And it's not going to take 3 months, it's going to take a year. And do you have the energy, the resilience, how are you going to reorganize your money situation and your personal situation? So this mindset and money are so tied up. And I think people spend quite a bit of time looking at their leadership, but not enough time looking at their money leadership and their money mindset. And as I say, from the way it's taught, from the way companies are run, it's just not a thing. And I think that's why sort of globally, when you do see these really successful entrepreneurs and individuals who, and I'm not talking about the Richard Branson type entrepreneur, I'm talking about the solopreneurs, the people who could retire at 50, but they haven't because they really enjoy their work. Those are the people who have found that balance between their money stories, money blocks, and their work, and they're really happy doing it. And I think that's really key, is that it's not taught. It's this piece that money mind, even leadership skills are taught, but not how do you feel. Leadership of people is now recognized. It didn't used to be. It's
no. It is really, isn't it? Quite frighteningly, yes, but it is new, yeah.
Things saying, oh, this is how you should work with people. And I was like, well, that's just common decency. But it's being taught. This is how managers should treat people. That's still relatively new. So no, I mean, the mainstream has not got to. And this is how you should think about money. And this is how you might feel about money. And this is risk taking. And risk taking might do this and this and this to your emotions.
Yeah, it's such as you're talking there, I'm just thinking it because what we're creating is an extension really of everything that that we believe and that we're passionate about and all of those things. And yeah, it's just not taught, is it? Because it doesn't fit a box right now, does it? But it is so foundational, isn't it, to helping somebody to have that successful relationship with money in their business, so that it enables them to, like you say, be a leader. Yeah, and very often we shy away from that when it comes to the big money stuff and the small money stuff, as you've said throughout this. So obviously you've mentioned in this discussion around money feelings and how that's a good starting point when we're kind of looking at, have I got blocks? What are the blocks? And we do have some resources available, don't we? We have got a quiz people can have a quick look at to kind of understand a little bit more about how they feel about money. There's also a 5-day experience that people can do to kind of just dig in a little bit more to how they're feeling about money. Those are really great starting points for anyone listening who thinks they'd like to go a little bit deeper and look at this more. But really, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. And I think just to sort of tie up by saying that, if you are finding yourself working harder, working faster, investing more and more time and energy into different processes and systems, and you're not seeing results, it is time to ask yourself, what are my money blocks? Gillian, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, just to say that that this is part, if anyone's already been doing some personal development work, which most of the people we hang out with are also very interested in personal growth. This is a definite part of personal growth and is completely entwined in your personal development, because this is this one sticking point that is part of it. It's not a separate part. It's part of your personal development.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely it is. It's been a pleasure. It's been really good to cover this subject and has given me lots of ideas for what we'll talk about next week. But thank you everyone for listening. I will pop a comment below with links to our different ways you can get in touch with us. And if you have any questions, please do let us know. Thank you.